Forget the swing states. Seriously, the entire battle for the U.S. House of Representatives might have just been decided by an eraser in Sacramento. We're looking at a literal political earthquake that completely rewires the math of the 2026 midterms, and it's happening through a mechanism that most people totally overlook. Think about this for a second. California's new legislative maps could independently flip 5 seats, fundamentally altering the balance of power in Washington, D.C. This isn't about campaign ads or debate stages. This is about the foundational architecture of our elections, engineered long before the voters ever even show up to the polls. This massive systemic shift really kicked off in late 2025, when California voters executed a maneuver that, honestly, most political analysts thought was absolutely impossible. They completely reversed course on how their own elections are structured. By a massive 64.4% margin, the California electorate voted to legally dismantle their own independent redistricting commission. They chose to hand the power of drawing congressional lines right back to partisan politicians in the state legislature. For a state that pioneered nonpartisan mapmaking back in 2008, this is just a staggering pivot. It reveals a really profound shift in the American psyche. Voters have become so deeply frustrated by national gridlock that they're entirely willing to suspend nonpartisan protections if it gives their side a strategic edge. They basically decided that having an independent system was a huge liability if the other side wasn't playing by the exact same rules. Framed as a necessary counteroffensive to mid-decade map redraws in states like Texas, this wasn't some backroom stolen power grab. That is a critical distinction we have to make here. This was a legal, formalized exercise of voter sovereignty. The voters literally amended their state constitution to change the rules of the game. Proposition 50, colloquially called the Election Rigging Response Act, explicitly suspended the old rules that prohibited partisan advantage. Empowered by this new mandate, mapmakers got to work. They utilized incredibly granular census block data to surgically optimize partisan registration advantages across the state's 52 districts, prioritizing what they called political efficiency. As you might expect, a bold redesign like this immediately triggered fierce legal resistance. The Trump administration and state Republicans filed suit, alleging unconstitutional racial gerrymandering designed to dilute conservative voting blocs. This set the stage for a massive federal showdown over election integrity. Notice how incredibly fast this escalated. The intense legal battle moved at lightning speed, culminating in a defining federal court decision early in the 2026 election cycle on January 14th. This ruling officially set the parameters for exactly what is and what isn't allowed in the modern redistricting wars. Writing for the 2-1 majority, Judge Josephine L. Staten laid it all out. She openly acknowledged the map was a pure political gerrymander designed specifically to flip 5 seats. But, and this is absolutely crucial, she ruled it perfectly legal. Why? Because the voters themselves had amended their state constitution to allow it, and the court found zero proof of racial gerrymandering. The map was driven entirely by partisanship, and under the new voter-approved rules, that was allowed. The immediate aftermath of that ruling forced incumbents into a frantic game of political survival. This map totally rewrote the career trajectories of prominent representatives. Abstract lines on a map suddenly turned into very real, personal stakes for the politicians involved. Take Republican rising star Kevin Kiley. He watched his competitive 3rd district just vanish overnight. It was transformed from a Trump +4 territory into a deep blue Harris +10 map. That effectively made his re-election practically impossible. It's a textbook example of how a legislative erasure can end a career way faster than a ballot box. Facing career extinction, Kiley made the unprecedented decision to abandon the GOP entirely. He registered as an independent in the neighboring 6th district. His whole strategy now hinges on this one number, 95,705. That is the massive block of unaffiliated, no-party preference voters in the new CD6 that he has to win over to survive. And this builds into a larger game of political musical chairs. While Kiley attempts this high-wire independent act, moderate Democrat Ami Bera performed an absolute masterclass in strategic migration. Bera left that crowded 6th district to easily secure his path in the newly drawn 3rd district. It's a fascinating contrast in survival tactics. One candidate abandons his party, the other abandons his district. Beyond the survival tactics of individual politicians, though, we have to look at the human element. This map fundamentally re-engineered local communities to serve a national partisan strategy. After all, the lines on the map dictate who picks up the phone in Washington when you call. While mapmakers successfully unified cities like Antioch to create cohesive representation, the quest for political efficiency caused some real collateral damage. It resulted in the splitting of communities like Lodi. Literally, neighbors living just streets apart now have entirely different representation in Congress, massively diluting their local voting power. The true ruthlessness of the new lines was revealed when longtime Republican heavyweight Darrell Issa was basically forced into retirement. His previously safe conservative seat was instantly transformed from an R+13 stronghold into a D+3 Democratic target. When an incumbent with that much history sees the writing on the wall and steps down, you know the political landscape has been permanently altered. Analyzing these granular shifts exposes a massive national ripple effect that is destined to define the 2026 midterms and beyond. Because what happens in California is absolutely setting the tone for the rest of the country. California has fully engaged in the gerrymandering arms race. By moving to net 5 Democratic seats, they have effectively neutralized the aggressive, mid-decade map-drawing strategies of states like Texas. It is a total tit-for-tat escalation played out entirely through map cartography. The mathematical mechanics of the strategic realignment mean the entire road to the U.S. House majority now runs directly through these newly drawn Sacramento suburbs. If Kimberly can leverage a fragmented Democratic primary, or if those independent voters show up in force, he might just survive. But the national headwinds are incredibly powerful. Stepping back, we are likely watching a profound domino effect unfold across the country. Other states are going to realize that maintaining a nonpartisan commission is essentially unilateral disarmament in a modern political ecosystem that aggressively rewards ruthlessness. California just provided the legal and political blueprint to dismantle them. The architects of power have proven that the ultimate leverage isn't won at the ballot box, but engineered long before the voters ever show up. The lines on the map dictate the reality of the election before a single vote is officially cast. So this forces us to confront the very nature of our system. If the voters overwhelmingly choose to prioritize partisan advantage to combat out-of-state gerrymandering, is that democratic? Where exactly do we draw the line between a rigged system and the sovereign will of the people demanding to win?
An investment in knowledge pays the best interest, so why not invest in this channel? Click like and subscribe for more.